Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we aren't just looking at a timeline of events or, a set of dry facts. We
Mm.
are heading directly into the suffocating, sticky heat of Southern Virginia,
Right.
the summer of 1932. And when I say heat, I really don't just mean the temperature on the thermometer. I mean an atmosphere that is so oppressive, so thick, that you can practically feel the air sitting heavy on your chest.
It's the kind of heat that our source material describes as being thick as molasses.
Yeah,
And honestly, that is just the perfect metaphor for the story we're about to unpack today.
it really is.
Because molasses is sweet, sure, but it's also slow, it's sticky, and it traps things. Once you're in it, you can't move fast. And that is exactly what this environment feels like for the characters we're about to meet.
They're stuck.
They are completely stuck in something that feels permanent.
Absolutely. So we're diving into Fireflies in December by Erin Valent. And on the surface, if you just glance at the cover, this might look like a standard coming-of-age story. A 13-year-old girl named Jessilyn Lassiter, she's living on a farm, dealing with boys in school, that sort of thing. But underneath, oh man, underneath, this is a pressure cooker.
It really is.
It starts with a near drowning in a swimming hole, and it ends with a shootout against the Klan on a front porch.
It runs the entire gamut of human experience in just a few short months. And what's fascinating here, I think, is that the narrative structure, it actually mirrors the summer storms described in the book.
How so?
Well, you have this long, slow buildup of tension. The heat, the social pressure, the small indignities, and then all of a sudden, the sky just breaks open and violence pours down.
That's a great way to put it. So our mission today isn't just to retell a family drama. We really want to examine the unwritten rules of the Jim Crow South.
Right, the rules nobody talks about, but everyone enforces.
Exactly. We want to look at what happens when a regular and these are not activists, not politicians, just farmers, decides to break those rules, not because they are trying to be heroes, but just because of a promise.
That's the core of it, isn't it? We're looking at personal diaries, narrative recollections, and a very specific account of how a single decision completely redefined the concept of family for the Lassiters.
Yeah.
And I think we should probably warn you right up front, this deep dive, it balances the innocence of childhood, fishing trips, berry picking, worrying about crushes, with the brutal, ugly reality of racial violence.
It's a jarring mix.
It is, but that's the point. That was the reality.
Right. It's that contrast that really makes it stick. So let's set the stage. Section 1, the long, hot summer. As we mentioned, the heat isn't just background noise. The sources are clear on this. It's a catalyst.
100%. The source material describes cicadas just vibrating in your ears, these wavy lines of heat rising off the rooftops, and this pervasive feeling that nature itself is building towards some kind of breaking point.
And everyone is on edge. You know how it gets when it hasn't rained in weeks?
Oh, yeah. Tempers flare. Everyone's just raw.
Exactly. And in the middle of this sweltering backdrop, we get Jessilyn's 13th birthday party. Now, this scene is so crucial because it establishes the baseline normal for this town.
It does. You've got children playing, eating cake, doing normal kid stuff.
Yeah.
But if you look just a little closer, the social hierarchy is already fully formed. It's all there in miniature.
Yeah, let's unpack this party. You've got the boys, and they're led by this kid, Buddy Purnell, who we are definitely going to talk about a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
And they're spitting watermelon seeds at the girls, typical roughhousing, right? But then you look at the sidelines, you have Gemma Teague.
Right. Gemma is the daughter of the help.
Mm-hmm.
Her parents, Miss Opal and Mr. Joe, they work for the Lassiters. And Gemma is the one cutting the watermelon. She's the one helping clean up.
But she is explicitly not invited to the party.
Not a guest. She's there to work, even at that age.
And Jessilyn, to her credit, she really tries to bridge that gap. She's 13, she's still naive, and she genuinely likes Gemma. She goes up to her and says, "You're my best friend. You should be at my party. Come by around 2."
And Gemma just shuts it down. Politely, but firmly. She says, "It just ain't done."
It just ain't done. That phrase really struck me. It sounds so passive, so final.
It is passive, but it's incredibly powerful. It's the mantra of the entire town. It represents that invisible wall of segregation. And you see the difference in the girls right there.
How so?
Jessilyn is young enough to question it. She asks who makes up these rules. But Gemma, even at her young age, understands the danger of crossing that line far better than Jessilyn does.
So Gemma already knows.
Gemma knows that it ain't done really means if you do this, there will be consequences. Serious consequences.
Well, that innocence of Jessilyn is about to get a very serious reality check because we move from the watermelon party to the swimming hole. And this
Yeah.
is where the child's play really stops being playful.
This incident is pivotal. It sets the tone for everything. So Jessilyn goes to the swimming hole, but she's already nervous.
Yeah.
At the party, she had humiliated Buddy Purnell.
Right, he made a crack about her mother.
He did, and she shoved cake in his face. It's the kind of thing that, in a normal story, would just lead to some teasing, maybe a prank. But here, the retaliation is so disproportionate.
It's terrifying. Buddy and the other boys are waiting for her. The source describes them circling her in the water like sharks.
And then Buddy pulls her under, and he holds her there. This isn't just a quick dunk for fun. He keeps her under until her lungs are burning.
And she comes up gasping.
And he pushes her down again. It's assault, plain and simple. She tries to escape by climbing these mossy rocks on the south side of the hole, and the text makes it clear everyone knows they are slippery and dangerous, and Buddy grabs her ankle and yanks her back.
And she slips.
She slips, hits her head hard on a rock, and goes under again. This time she's stunned, bleeding.
And the boys are laughing. That's the detail that is just so chilling. They see a girl actively drowning, bleeding from a head wound, and to them, it's a joke.
It establishes that Buddy Purnell isn't just a nuisance or a bully. He represents the inherited aggression of the town. He has no empathy. He enjoys the dominance. He feels entitled to punish her for embarrassing him.
But then, just when it seems hopeless, we get our first hero moment. Enter Luke Talley.
Luke.
The 19-year-old neighbor. The heartthrob.
He is the heartthrob, absolutely. But he's also the moral compass for the younger generation, in a way. He works at a tobacco factory. He's strong, but he's decent. He's not like the other boys.
And he sees what's happening.
He sees it from a distance, realizes what's going on, and he just dives in, hauls Jessilyn out, and carries her home. This moment does two really important things.
Okay.
First, it establishes Luke as this protector figure. But secondly, and this is crucial for Jessilyn's character, it introduces this developing crush she has on him.
Right. She wakes up, she sees this handsome older guy dripping wet, saving her life.
And suddenly those silly girls at school talking about boys make a lot more sense to her. It's her coming-of-age moment, born out of violence.
Yeah. It's such a classic knight in shining armor moment, but it's grounded in this really gritty reality. She's bleeding, she's concussed, and Luke is absolutely tearing into the other boys. He's scolding them.
It sets up the stakes perfectly. The violence is real,
Yeah.
but so is the potential for protection.
And the foreshadowing is so heavy here. The bump on the head and the specific cruelty of the boys. It's a precursor, isn't it?
It's a direct warning. If the children are this violent over a piece of cake, what are the adults capable of?
And we're about to find out.
Yeah.
Because that heat wave, it finally breaks. But not with a gentle rain. It breaks with a violent thunderstorm. This brings us to section 2, the fire and the decision.
Right. And Jessilyn usually loves storms. The source says she finds them exciting. She's watching from the porch with her mom, Sadie. But then she sees it, a bolt of lightning.
And it strikes the property near the thicket.
Mm-hmm.
And she knows instantly that's where Gemma lives. That's the teak house.
The panic in this scene is just palpable. Her father, Harley Lassiter, he hears her scream and he just rushes to the truck. Jessilyn forces her way in. She refuses to be left behind.
And when they get there.
It's an inferno.
Yeah.
The house is gone. The source describes it as just kindling. There's nothing left.
And we have to be clear about the tragedy here. Gemma's parents, Miss Opal and Mr. Joe, they don't make it out.
No, they perish in the fire. Gemma is the only survivor. And the image the source gives us is just heartbreaking.
Where do they find her?
Jessilyn finds her hiding in a tractor cart, curled up in a ball, covered in soot, just shaking uncontrollably. She's just lost everything in the span of an hour.
That drive back to the Lassiter farmhouse, the source describes it as just silence. Just absolute, heavy, suffocating silence.
What is there to say?
Nothing. But the real turning point, the decision that changes everything, comes a few days later after the funeral.
And the funeral itself is such a stark reminder of the racial divide. It's segregated, of course. Whites on one side, blacks on the other. But Gemma stands with the Lassiters. She has no other family.
And this leads to maybe the most important conversation in the entire story.
The overheard argument.
Yes, the argument between Harley and his wife, Sadie. Jessilyn is listening from the top of the stairs. Now, I want to pause on Sadie for a second. It would be so easy to paint her as the villain here. But is she?
No, I really don't think she is. Sadie represents the pragmatism of fear. She's not evil. She's terrified. She's saying things like, it just ain't done. And Harley, think about your family. Think about your daughter.
She knows what the town is like.
She knows exactly what the town is like. She knows that taking in a black child and raising her alongside a white daughter in 1932 Virginia is social suicide. and it's potentially physically dangerous. She's not wrong about the consequences.
So she's trying to protect the status quo because the status quo, however unjust, keeps them safe.
Precisely. But Harley operates on a completely different plane. He has a different set of rules.
He does. He's the moral anchor of this whole story. He's not worried about social standing. He's not worried about what the neighbors will think. He's worried about his word.
And he tells Sadie straight up, I promised JT I'd look out for his girl if something ever happened. To him, it's that simple. It's a promise between two men, two friends. He doesn't care about the color of her skin. He cares about the vow he made.
And then he delivers the line that shifts the entire trajectory of their lives, the line that basically starts the war.
He just says, the girls stand.
The girls stand, bam. End of discussion.
It's the fulcrum. It's the pivot point for everything. Before this moment, the Lassiters were respected farmers. They had a truck, they had a telephone, they had good standing in the community.
And after this moment,
They are stepping off a cliff. They are actively choosing conscience over community, and they know there's no going back.
and the community reaction is, well, it's swift. This brings us to Section 3, the social cost of conscience. It's not like the town holds a meeting and votes them out. It's subtler than that and colder.
It's the isolation, and it's instantaneous. Friends who used to drop by, they just stop.
Yeah.
The minister from their church visits, not to offer comfort to a grieving child, but to warn the Lassiters about what they're doing.
And it's not just the white community.
No, and this is a crucial point. The black community also warns them. They tell Harley that this mixing will only bring trouble, especially for Gemma. They're worried for her safety, too. So the Lassiters are suddenly on an island.
It's like a tug of war where both sides just let go of the rope and the Lassiters fall right in the middle.
That's a perfect analogy.
Yeah.
And that passive aggression, the silence and the stares, it turns active pretty quickly. We have to talk about the incident at the general store.
This is a massive escalation.
A huge escalation. Jessilyn and Gemma go into town for supplies. They're just trying to act normal, get some flour and sugar, but everyone is staring. And then, Walt Blevins walks in.
Walt Blevins. So if Buddy Purnell is the junior bully, the apprentice.
Walt is the senior villain. He is the embodiment of the town's hatred. And he's got a personal history with Harley.
Right. He blames a former black employee of Harley's for his own father's death, even though the source says the facts don't support that at all.
It's a deep, irrational resentment.
Yeah.
He hates Harley, and he hates what Harley represents, this kind of quiet moral integrity.
So he sees the girls in the store, and he corners them. He calls Jessilyn a brat. He insults her father. But then he turns his attention to Gemma. And this is where the source material gets very, very dark.
Yeah. Walt has just bought some animal traps.
And he holds them up.
He holds them up, and he calls them, well, he uses a terrible slur. He calls them N-word traps. And he explicitly threatens Gemma. He says something like she might lose a leg if she's not careful where she steps.
It's a grotesque, violent threat directed at a child who just lost her parents. I mean, the malice there is just, it's breathtaking.
It's designed to terrorize. It's psychological warfare. But this is where Harley Lassiter steps in again. He arrives at the store, he sees the confrontation, and he just draws a line in the sand.
He tells Walt to stay away from his family.
He does. And Walt, in his arrogance, says something like, since she's with that colored girl, it won't be hard to stay away. And Harley looks him dead in the eye and says,
That includes Gemma.
that includes Gemma. He publicly claims her, right there, in front of the whole town. That is a monumental act. He's not just housing her, he's claiming her as part of his protection. He's saying an attack on her is an attack on me.
And the crowd's reaction. What does the source say about the other people in the store?
It's so telling. They part for Harley as he walks out with the girls, but they won't look him in the eye.
That detail really stuck with me. Why won't they look at him? What is that about?
I think it's shame. Deep down, they know he's displaying a courage they don't have. But they're also complicit in Walt's behavior through their silence. They let Walt be the voice of the town's prejudice because they're too cowardly to stop him and too afraid to join Harley.
So their silence is an endorsement of Walt's violence.
It's a quiet endorsement, yes. They're all guilty.
So the lines are drawn. The Lassiters are officially pariahs. But the threat isn't just in the general store anymore. It's in the woods. This brings us to Section 4, innocence versus evil.
This section really highlights the rapid loss of innocence for Jessilyn. She's unable to sleep one night. It's the heat again, combined with all this anxiety, and she decides to sneak out to Luke Talley's house.
A very childish, impulsive decision. She's thinking about romance, about her crush.
Exactly. She cuts through the fields in the pre-dawn dark. She's probably daydreaming about surprising Luke, maybe hoping for a kiss. She is not thinking about domestic terrorism. But that's exactly what she finds.
She stumbles upon a gathering in the woods near Cole Mundy's property. Men in white robes, a fire pit.
The Ku Klux Klan.
The KKK.
Yeah.
Right there in her neighbor's woods.
She hides behind a magnolia tree. She sees them. She can't see all their faces, but she hears them. And she recognizes Walt Blevins' voice, leading a prayer.
And that detail is just so twisted. They are praying. They're invoking God before they, plan a lynching.
It's the distortion of faith that the source material points out again and again. Harley notices it too later. He says, they aren't praying to the God he knows. But for Jessilyn, the theological implications aren't the point right now. The terror is immediate.
And she steps on a twig.
Snap!
That sound must have been like a cannon blast in the quiet morning.
Absolutely. The chanting stops. A dog starts barking. It's Cole Mundy's dog. And Jessilyn just runs. She runs for her life to Luke's cabin.
And this is such a high-tension scene. She's pounding on Luke's door. He finally opens it, pulls her in, sees she's terrified, and he realizes someone is coming. He has to think fast.
He shoves her under his bed.
And just in time.
Just in time.
Yeah.
Cole and Walt come banging on the door. They're looking for the spy they heard in the woods. But Luke plays it so cool. He's just in his sleeping pants. He acts like he just woke up.
And he manages to turn them away.
He does, with this brilliant, mundane excuse. He points out their muddy boots and refuses to let them mess up his clean floor.
I just mopped. It's such a domestic, almost comical excuse to use against a lynch party, but it works.
It works because it forces them to acknowledge social norms. Even Klansmen don't want to be seen as rude guests who track mud everywhere. It's absurd. Luke just threads the needle perfectly there. He protects Jessilyn, but he also realizes how incredibly dangerous this situation has become.
And when the men leave, he is furious with her.
He is, not because he's mean, but because he's scared for her. He knows what they're capable of. He yells at her, "This ain't a game."
And that's really the theme of this section, isn't it? Jessilyn is playing at being an adult, sneaking out, having crushes, but she has stumbled into a very adult, very lethal reality.
The Invisible Empire isn't a ghost story anymore. It's her neighbors. It's the men she sees at the feed store every week.
And speaking of crushes, the story grounds us again. We have to mention the gazebo incident. It seems minor compared to seeing the KKK, but it's important.
It is. Jessilyn later catches Luke with another girl, a girl named Peggy, kissing in the gazebo during a rainstorm.
And she's crushed.
It creates this necessary juxtaposition. On one hand, you have men in hoods plotting violence. On the other, you have simple teenage jealousy. Jessilyn is heartbroken and embarrassed. It humanizes Luke. He's not just her superhero. He's a 19-year-old guy with his own life.
And it reminds us that Jessilyn is still a child. She's dealing with child problems, even while her entire world is burning down around her.
But that burning brings us to Section 5, the siege. And the chapter title for this in the source is like Fireflies in December, which is a metaphor we'll get to later, but the event itself is just pure chaos.
The setup is a classic thriller material. It's a sweltering Sunday in July. The parents, Harley and Sadie, they leave the girls alone to go into town for ice cream. It's a rare treat, a break from the misery of the heat and the isolation.
But it's a trap. Or at least it's an opportunity that is immediately seized by the Klan. They knew the parents were gone. They must have been watching the house.
And they cut the phone lines.
That's the detail that is so chilling. Cutting the phone lines implies premeditation and military-like tactics. This isn't a drunken mob stumbling upon a house. This is a planned siege. They want to isolate the girls so no one can call for help.
So Jessilyn and Gemma are in the house. They realize the lines are dead. Duke, the dog, is tied up outside, just barking his head off. And then the voices start. Men in robes surrounding the house.
They call out for Harley, mocking him. They don't know he's not there at first, but when he doesn't come out, they escalate. They start threatening to smoke them out.
And Jessilyn and Gemma are hiding in the closet under the stairs. It's dark, it's hot, it's terrifying. But Jessilyn has this moment of realization. If they smoke us out, we die. The house is wood. It's dry as a bone from the drought.
It's a tinderbox. And this is the moment of truth. Jessilyn, this 13-year-old girl, makes a choice. She leaves the relative safety of the closet. She runs to the kitchen pantry.
And she grabs her father's heavy rifle. Does she even know how to use it?
Barely. The source says she's seen her dad use it. She knows how to load it. But the thing is heavy. She has to drag it to the front door.
She steps out onto the porch. There's a burning cross on the lawn now, another classic terror tactic. And she sees the leader of the mob. She recognizes the voice.
It's Walt Blevins.
And she calls him out. by name. She strips away his anonymity. She yells, "I know who you are, Walt Blevins."
That is a massive, massive risk. Usually identifying a Klansman is a death sentence.
It is. And Walt, in his absolute arrogance, he takes off his hood. He thinks, it's just a little girl. What is she going to do? He doesn't believe for a second that she has it in her to pull the trigger.
He even mocks her. He threatens to burn the house down right in front of her. He actually lights a match and tries to ignite Sadie's prized geraniums, which are all dry and sitting on the porch. That would catch the whole structure on fire in seconds.
And Jessilyn pulls the trigger.
The recoil knocks her back. She doesn't just shoot once. The source says she fires 3 times in a panic.
And she hits him.
She hits Walt Blevins in the shoulder.
The shock of that moment must have been, I can't even imagine.
It shifts the power dynamic instantly. The men panic. They came for a helpless family, not a firefight. They realize this little girl is lethal. They scramble. They grab the wounded Walt and start to run.
But the fire has started. The geraniums are burning and the porch is catching.
And this is Gemma's moment. We have to remember, Gemma lost her parents to a fire. She is understandably terrified of it.
It is her worst nightmare come to life again.
It is. But when she sees the porch burning, and more than that, she sees that Jessilyn's pant leg has caught fire, she just snaps out of her paralysis. She rushes out with a rug from inside.
And she starts beating out the flames.
She beats out the flames on the porch, on the flowers, and she saves Jessilyn's leg. She saves the house, and she saves Jessilyn.
It's such a profound act of courage. She literally faces her worst fear to save the person who stood up for her.
It's the ultimate repayment of the debt, if you want to look at it that way. But really, it's just love. They're protecting each other. They are family.
The scene ends with the men fleeing, the fire out, the girls, adrenaline crashing on the porch, and then the headlights appear. Harley and Sadie return.
And that brings us to section 6, the aftermath and the cover-up. Imagine being the parents. You come home to the smell of smoke, a smoldering cross in your yard, and your daughters are just traumatized.
Harley's reaction is fascinating. He finds the rifle, he pieces together what happened, and he just goes into the silent rage. He kicks down the cross, stomps on it.
But then the legal maneuvering begins.
Mm-hmm.
The sheriff and the town doctor, Dr. Mabley, arrive. And you think, okay, great, the law's here. Arrest Walt Blevins for attempted murder and arson. But it's not that simple in 1932 Virginia.
Not at all.
No. Harley refuses to let the girls testify. This is a crucial point about the unwritten rules of the system. Harley knows the system is rigged. A white jury, sympathizing with the Klan, might twist the story.
They might even blame the girls.
They might. They could say the girls attacked Walt. They would almost certainly let Walt walk free. And then the Lassiters are in even more danger because they tried to use the law against a powerful white man.
So they come up with what the source calls a conspiracy of silence.
Exactly. The sheriff, who seems to be a decent man in a terrible position, knows Walt will have to seek medical attention for a gunshot wound. He plans to arrest him quietly, probably on a different charge, or just handle it behind closed doors where the public can't get involved and rally around Walt.
And the official story for the neighbors.
Jessilyn burned her leg on a tractor exhaust pipe.
It's so frustrating, isn't it? You want the public vindication. You want the headline, 13-year-old girl defeats Klan. But it's about survival.
It is. It's a bitter pill to swallow. But it solidifies the bond between the girls in a way nothing else could. There's this beautiful, quiet moment where they touch foreheads.
And Gemma says, thanks for saving our lives. And Jessilyn says, thanks for saving my leg.
They aren't just friends anymore. They aren't even just adoptive sisters. They are battle buddies. They are survivors of a war fought on their own front porch.
This brings us to the deeper analysis. Section 7, the metaphor of the fireflies. Why is the book called Fireflies in December? Where does that come from?
This comes from a conversation Harley has with Jessilyn much earlier in the summer. They're sitting outside, looking at the dark sky, and Harley catches a firefly in his hands.
Okay.
He explains to her that one light is small. It's tiny, but it lights up a speck of the dark. And he says that we are meant to be lights in the dark, cold days, like fireflies in December.
Fireflies in December. It's an impossible image. Fireflies are summer bugs. You don't see them in the winter.
Exactly. To be a firefly in December is to be out of season. It means doing the right thing when the entire environment is hostile to it. It means shining your light when it's cold and dark and no one else is.
So the Lassiters are the fireflies.
The Lassiters are the fireflies. They're doing the moral thing, treating Gemma as human, as family, in a December moral climate. The town is cold. The town is dark. But they shine anyway, even if it's just a small light.
That is such a powerful, beautiful image. Being out of season, it really captures the profound isolation they must have felt.
That does.
And Harley Lassiter, we have to talk about him one last time. He's such a stoic, compelling figure. He doesn't seem to hate the racists. He almost seems to pity them.
He sees them as cowards or scared people. He relies on scripture and his own personal conviction. He's not an activist in the modern sense of the word. He's just a man of his word. He doesn't give big speeches about equality.
Right.
He just promised a friend he would take care of his little girl, so he takes care of the little girl. The rest is just noise to him. He doesn't bend.
I think that's what makes him so compelling. He's not trying to change the world. He's just refusing to let the world change him.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And that makes his resistance even stronger because it's so deeply personal and unwavering.
So, to sort of wrap this all up, what's the big takeaway from this story?
Well, I think it's a story about the cost of goodness. We like to think that doing the right thing brings rewards. We like stories where the hero gets a medal and a parade.
Yeah.
In this story, doing the right thing brings arson, isolation, death threats, and trauma. But they do it anyway. And that right there is the definition of integrity.
And looking at the ending that the source provides, it's a precarious piece at best. Walt is gone, likely going to jail, or has been run out of town by the sheriff. But the town itself hasn't changed. The neighbors still aren't visiting.
No, the Lassiters haven't won the town over. They haven't cured racism in 1932 Southern Virginia. They've just drawn a line in the sand and survived defending it.
They have each other, and they have their conscience.
And maybe, for them, that has to be enough.
It's a powerful place to leave it. And it really makes you ask yourself a tough question. If doing the right thing meant endangering your children, losing your community, losing everything you've built, would you still be a firefly in December?
That is the question, isn't it?
Right.
It's easy to be a firefly in July when everyone else is shining. It's a lot harder in December.
Thank you for listening to this deep dive. We'll see you next time.